Well, it's Thursday, and you all know what that means. If you probably know right about now, today we're going to be reviewing Ring of Honor, featuring, of course, many matches. Amongst them is a Proving Ground match and various other things as well. But of course, we're going to see some complaints and very other things that are to come in Ring of Honor. And then finally, we have TNA, featuring, of course, a number one contendership in a battle royale who will be facing, of course, Frankie Kazarian for the TNA World Title. So we'll just have to wait and see. We even have, of course, the Angels Warriors in action as well to take on, of course, Mr. Stone and, of course, his Stooges. And then finally, we have the Steel Cage match featuring, of course, TNA fighting for their home against a team, as you know, they've been invading for the last couple of weeks, so we'll see how things are going to turn around on that one. And then finally, of course, as always, we'll wrap up our episode, as usual, with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey guys, welcome to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere where pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information has been unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, it's time to go to work. Let's begin with Ring of Honor. All right, New Japan Pro Wrestling. As you all know, we have begun the road to the Tokyo Dome. For those who don't understand what that means, we are heading to Wrestle Kingdom. As you probably know, this is one of their big shows starting 2026. We're only maybe a couple of weeks away, but however, that does not mean we have to hype you guys up for that, because that's exactly what we're going to do. We have, of course, some preliminary matches involving championship matches and feuds. So we're going to be seeing all of that, okay? So let's begin, of course, with the latest, and began with a trios match. We have Zane J, the Young Lion, teaming up with Ryusuke Taguchi and Tiger Mask, taking on Masatora Yasuda, and of course the Great Heel Bash, consistent of Tomoaki Honma and Togi Makabe. Now, obviously, the weakest links in this match would have been the Young Lions, but however, keep in mind, Tiger Mask is in the position right now that he'll be retiring in next year or so, as you probably remember, and this is possibly one of the few matches we will ever get to see. But however, this match ended with Tiger Mask applying, of course, a Boston Crab on Yasuda, and just like that, Yasuda had no choice but to tap out. Our next match, we have a 4-on-4 match here. Tatsuya Matsumoto Bolton Oleg. They team up with Bishiman, consistent, of course, of Yoshihashi and Hiroki Goto. They take on Shomakato, Toru Yano, Master Wato, and Yo. Now, obviously, it's no secret that if you pin either Yano, Yo, or Wato, you get an opportunity for the six-man tag team titles. But however, there's going to be a huge rando that will be taking place involving that also on Wrestle Kingdom, in case anybody asks. But just like the same result that we saw, we did see, of course, a Boston grab taking on by Bolton Oleg on Shomakato. As you all know, Bolton Oleg used to be a young lion, but then he finishes it off just like that, so it was completely over from there. Now, our next match, we have Katsuya Murashima. He teams up with Kukai and El Desperado, taking on the House of Losers. We're consistent, of course, of Yujiro Takahashi, Sho, and Doiki, of course. Tweedledee and Tweedledum, our current IWGP Junior Tag Team Champions, think that they are the best. Nope, they're a bunch of dumb losers, of course. And of course, like the always, we've seen their usual tactics, cheating their way through, using weapons and whatnot to do so. But in the end, it was Doiki who walked away with the win when he applied the Doki Choki onto Murashima, and just like that is over. Now, you probably know Desperado had some unfinished business with Doki and Sho after they screwed him for the IWGP World Junior, the Junior Heavyweight title. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, our next match, we have a very interesting combination. We have Team 100 consisting of Satoshi Kojima and Taichi. They team up with Yushio, consistent of Yuya Uemura and Shota Umino. They take on the other members of the House of Losers, consistent of Sho, Sanada, Ren Narita, and Evil. Now, as always with these losers, they like to use dirty tactics, as they always have been, because that's always been their ultimate game to do so. And not to mention, of course, Evil has to contend with Aaron Wolf, who's been nothing but a thorn in his side since he first arrived. But in the end, of course, Sonata caused a disqualification again, this time on Kojima, because basically he tossed the guitar on him and make it look like that he got away with it. And referee, being dumb that he is, he didn't even notice. But of course, all hell broke loose. Then Aaron Wolf showed up. As you know, he has an axe to grind against Evil, and of course, Evil can't take his interference. But sooner or later, as you probably know, those two will meet up in Wrestle Kingdom, and I believe this is for the Never Openweight Championship. And of course, Evil likes to say that he is the true Olympian. Well, he's a pathetic loser. That's what he is. Now, moving on. Our next match, we have the United Empire, Jacob Austin Young, Cal Newman, and Great Khan taking on the combination of both the unaffiliated and the War Dogs. Representing the unaffiliated, we have Shingo Tagagi and Yoda Tsuji, and for the War Dogs, we have Geto. Now, Geto, as you probably know, he has unfinished business with the United Empire. As you probably remember, Cal Newman has been targeting him every single match that they have, but Cal Newman once again is showing a brand new attitude. As you probably can guess, the unaffiliated are now part of this war with the War Dogs, knowing too well that the United Empire are trying to make a name for themselves to return back to what they used to be, one of the dominant factions in New Japan. But however, once again, Newman applied another disqualification, giving, of course, Geto, Shingo, and Tsuji another win due to disqualification by tossing a chair onto Tagagi. So of course, this is a mess that's gonna go bloody. I wouldn't be surprised if they finally asked the unaffiliated to participate in the 5-on-5 in order to deal with the United Empire. So we'll see what happens until then. Our next match, well, you can call this part of a preliminary match in some capacity. We have TMDK, Hartley Jackson, Kosa Fujita, and of course our current and winners of the World Tag League, Rohei Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. They take on Daiki Nagaya, the unaffiliated. He teams up with the guys from the War Dogs, taking on Taiji Shimori and the current IWGP Tag Team Champions Oscar and Yuto Ice. Now remember, Rohei Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. won this year's World Tag League, so that means they will be facing Oscar and Yuto Ice at Wrestle Kingdom for these tag belts, and that's something we're definitely going to see. But of course, Oscar and Yuto Ice will not let this mess go unpunished, because they're not going to let a couple of winners take away their opportunity away from them, and that's exactly what they're going to tend to do. But however, it was in fact Hartley Jackson that picked up the win onto Daiki Nagai, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, TMDK picked up the win. So we'll see what happens moving forward from here on out. Oh, excuse me. Now our main event, we have of course the Time Bomb, Hiroshi Tanahashi taking on the Ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. As I mentioned before, this will be one of Tanahashi's final matches, and not to mention he's facing Hiromu Takahashi. For obvious reasons, for those who know, Hiromu is a junior heavyweight competitor, but recently he has been competing in heavyweight standards. The fact that he knows how to handle this type of match, but he's facing against a guy who has done it all in New Japan, who carried the company in his back for many years. But the real question is, will Hiromu finally take a beat take a finally will beat him, or will Tanahashi will defeat him? Well, you probably can guess that Tanahashi's body has been deteriorating for quite some time. I'm sure it's going to be difficult with the knees, but it did not stop him. But in the end, it was Tanahashi with the high five flow, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. So Tanahashi picked up the win. So I think that's pretty much it. How it ends in New Japan. We'll see what happens down the road with more of to the road to the Tokyo Dome. If there's anything else, we'll see what happens. But as of right now, let's move on with our last and final thing: news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. So, as always, let's begin with upcoming events. We have two updates on that category. The first one, as you know, we have Stardom. They will have their Christmas Eve event known as Year End. Now, there are plenty matches have they been announced for the card, and this was revealed by Scott Edwards from Fightful Select, and also someone who's been an expert watching, of course, and analyzing the Yoshi wrestling matches. So let me explain what the card is going to be. We have the combination of Saya Ida, Sayuri Anu, Aya Sakura, Sayaka Kurara versus, of course, the members of Hate, Sayaka Mitani, Konami, Natsuko Tora, and Raka. Now keep in mind, this is a preliminary match for the Dream Queendom by the end of this year. We know that Sayuri Anu will be challenging for the red belt against Sayaka Mitani. Saida will be facing Konami for the white belt. And of course, Aya Sakura and Sayaka are two winners for the tag league. Will be facing Natsuko Tora and Raka for the Goddesses tag belts. So we'll see how that goes. Then we have the High Speed Championship match. Mei Seita will defend it again, this time with Yuna Mizumori. This will be her third time of attempt. Hopefully, she does win it because she deserves to win this belt. Then we have, of course, the combination of Maika, Hanako, Shuri, and Rani Yagami taking on the ladies from Sendai Girls. We have Shihiro Hashimoto, Yuna, and Manami. Then we have, of course, the ladies. We have a little interesting trios match. First, we have the ladies from Stars, consistent of B. Priestley, Momokogo, and Yoda Him. They take on the ladies from God's Eye, Saki Kashima, Hina, and Kiyoka Tatsu. Also involved in this match is the ladies from Mi Vida Loca, Suzuki, Rina Yamashita, Izuki Aoki, and then finally members of Hate, Rina, Azu Zainaba, and Fukigen Death. Then we have, of course, a very interesting match. We have Hazuki Koguma, Azumi Miyamasaki, and Olympia. They take on Ami Suri, Lady C, Tomokai Naba, Bozilla, and Akira Kurugani. Then we have Zina and Waka Tsukiyama teaming up. They take on Matoi Hamabe and Anakane. And then we have Natsupoi and Rian and Emma Maishima taking on Suri, Chiki, and Migukanu. And then we have Yuki Mashiro taking on Kikyo Furusawa. So that's pretty much that event on the 24th of December. So mark your calendars on that. And then, of course, more on GCW. You know they'll be in Phoenix, Arizona on the 15th of February for Holy Smokes. Names have been mentioned who will be participating. We have Acticus Coger, Matt Tremont, Effie, and Hammerstone. Now, that's pretty much it for our upcoming events. Now, on to some developments. Fightful Select reports that this recent, as you know, that AEW were at the UK. Will Ospreay was at the backstage area, so it has been confirmed that he's been there but not participating. Keep in mind, he has still got a little bit to go from his recovery from the injury, so we'll see what happens. But it's great that he was there in the backstage area. Now, as you all know, this was reported from Fightful Select. TNA are, in fact, as you know, they've been reports about certain talent that their contracts will be up, and recently there's been discussion about now certain talent will be re-signing. Now, they never mentioned who will be most likely to re-sign, but two names have been mentioned that there were no deals made of yet to them, and that is, of course, the two names are Jake Something and Zachary Wentz. So far they haven't signed a new deal. Hopefully they're negotiating before the end of the year, so we'll see what happens until then. Now, Body Slam has revealed that, of course, that Trick Williams, there's been reports that he'll be expected to call up to the main roster. It's still unclear when, but it most likely will happen. Now, many of you know that we have on January 4th Wrestle Kingdom. Apparently, they're going to reduce the matches up to 7. The reason is because of the constrictions between both Tanahashi and Okada, which is going to be a very interesting epic match. Now, let me pull up what they exactly said about that, and this was coming from Wrestling Observer. Belief is that the New Japan will be doing a long main event and long retirement ceremony for Hiroshi Tanahashi to end Wrestle Kingdom 20. The reason the show only 7 matches is because of time constrictions, and it's going to on the network television, and wanting to make sure the Okada and Tanahashi and the presentation isn't rushed. So yes, they have to make room for not only the match between Tanahashi and Okada, but also room enough for Tanahashi's retirement ceremony, which is going to be very interesting, and it's totally unrespectable for that. So we'll see what happens until then. Now, a very interesting thing was brought upon by someone about this. Now, as you all know, recently I reported that Saya Kamitani has won MVP award from Tokyo Sports, and of course she is a few of the women's wrestlers in Japan that broke down the walls on that. However, many of you know this or not. Rossy Ogawa has a certain type of opinion on certain wrestlers that he feels will never make it through to the popularity level. And amongst them, as you all know, I mentioned a while back, was Azumi. He did mention on a documentary about how Azumi will never be popular as Starlight Kid. And look at her now, she's popular. Some people like to say that Rossy Ogawa, in fact, is a hypocrite old fool believing that. However, when word got out, of course, about Kamitani being nominated as the MVP, he had some things to say about Kamitani on that. I don't know what your opinions will be about that, but this is what exactly he said. This is what he exactly said. Ogawa did not think that she is quite there yet, though that would be seem like a bar is lower than it was in the past if she won it now. So he didn't think actually she was going to win the MVP award. Now, some people say that Rossy Ogawa, he needs to retire. Some people say that he doesn't know squat. And I remember Chris Wolf mentioned that he doesn't give a shit about any of his wrestlers as long as they make money for him. And that's totally understandable to think of him. But if he didn't think that she was going to win it, then why the hell did she win it? He needs to keep his mouth shut to say things like that. Like, instead of bringing your wrestlers down, just support them. Make sure that they get to where they're supposed to go. But nope, he rather say, nope, they're never going to make it. He rather bring those people down. So you got to ask yourself, is Rossy Ogawa really that dumb to believe that? I mean, first he said that Azumi will never make it be popular Starlight Kid. Now she is now in that popularity category. But what can you do? But I had to say, Rossy, you're wrong again. So if he does it again for a third time, well, he's out. So anyway, I think that's pretty much it for what we have for our news updates and everything else. Let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you probably know, we have more with Collision. As you probably can guess, there's going to be more stuff taking place. I'm not sure exactly. I did saw a bit of a clip of Speedball Mike Bailey versus Jack Perry, so that's going to be a very interesting match. But we'll see how that rolls up. If there's anything else, we'll see. If there's more of New Japan, we'll see about that too. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.